Bonjour. My French is terrible, so I'm going to proceed in English. I hope that's okay with everyone. Otherwise, we can try, but you won't enjoy it. My name is Philip Norman. I work at Mesosphere. I contribute to Marathon and Chronos, which are both Mesos frameworks, and I work on DCOS. I'll be talking to you a little bit about continuous integration in DCOS a bit later on.
Hello, my name is Scholten. I'm a senior software engineer at Container Solutions. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Mesos. So these are our bios. Like I said, Mesos is something we created a while ago while we were working on some Mesos frameworks like Mesos Elasticsearch and Log-Size Command. So the agenda for this talk is going to be, I'm going to talk about Mesos first a little bit, showing you a little demo, and then later Philip is going to talk about DCOS again and how to do continuous integration, continuous delivery on DCOS. And both these tools can be used together to create a continuous delivery setup where application can be run locally in your laptop, test it, and then deploy to actual customers later on. At the end, there's going to be like a little workshop in the last quarter of the session, and you're going to use these data operating integration on these cluster and around. Alright, so what is Mesos? Who in the room has already heard of Mesos before? Awesome. So it's an experimentation and testing tool for using a passive Mesos. So typically we talk about Mesos, we have this really large cluster on Amazon or something. But if you want to try it out, you can run it on your machine, play around with it for some experiments. And this is why we created it, because we wanted to do some experiment with Mesos, make it easy to develop frameworks. So it's an instant Mesos cluster, and you just quickly run it. It runs in Docker, so it's easy to get started because it will just pull some images from the internet and deploy on your machine. Also, this work has been sponsored by Cisco Cloud, and we've been working together with them this year and last year while we were breaking the health stack of Mesos, and then we created this project. Right. So the story. Can you hear me? No. It doesn't work, right? It does. Okay. Gotta give you close. Okay. So the story behind Mesos was, like I said, we worked together with Cisco on Mantle, which is the microservices platform by Cisco. And then one of the core pieces is the Elk stack on Mesos. So we started out building Mesos Elasticsearch, but we quickly realized that it would be hard to write these frameworks and properly test them. So what we run into is it orchestrates a my machine problem. Meaning, you want to test all the different pieces of your distributed system in the machine so you can properly test it end to end. So this is hard to do. So typically, this is what your development process looks like when you write a Mesos framework. So you have these frameworks on the left. You would build the code, you would build jar files, for instance, or Docker images. Then you would deploy them to some massive Mesos cluster somewhere, which would also take some time. Then you test them, you click on the UI, you test. And then maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Then you need to go back to your ID again and make a change. And this whole cycle takes way too long. So we figured out pretty early on that it's a workable process. So that's what we wanted to do is we wanted to run the framework on the Mesos first, the developer's laptop, and then from a unit test, deploy the code, do some end-to-end testing, and then then put it on like a cluster or like a Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little bit about mini mesos. So I was planning to give a bigger demo, but for some reason my laptop didn't work with video equipment. But after the talk, you can find me, and I will show you the demo on my machine. So now I'm going to give it a little bit of a different demo that's online actually, so you can follow along. It's at minimesos.org/try, and this is an environment that's pretty cool because it's completely from the browser. You can do all the regular commands that you want to do. So we can just copy the commands like this. And what this does, it takes the install script of minimesos, copies it, and puts it on the path. So now we have a minimesos script here. And then I run the minimesos up command, so it has a vagrant workflow doing up and init. It takes a couple of seconds, takes a bit longer here because we're on this environment. But what it now does, it will start up a master, an agent, and a zookeeper instance. And there you go, it will print out some IP addresses. And to prove that it actually works, let me scroll down a bit. You can go to the Marathon dashboard as well. There it is. So Marathon is also a part of minimesos, and it's configurable. So you can decide whether or not to to have multiple agents or only one or stuff like that. So you can have your own environment, and you can do some experiments. So we have a bunch of scenarios online. So you can also there's a scenario to run minimesos from your unit test using this snippet here. Deploying a container as well, and deploying Mesos Elasticsearch. So this is what I wanted to show. And if you're interested in more information, you can check out the GitHub project, Container Solutions/Minimesos. You can also follow Minimesos on Twitter. You can follow me as well as Adam. We're the core people behind Minimesos. We have a mailing list since a few months, and of course the minimesos/try if you want to try it out. So hope you found this interesting. I'd like to talk to you later after the talk if you're interested in this. So let's now continue with DCOS.
Thank you, Frank. That was really interesting. I'm really looking forward to getting Minimesos integrated into our framework build processes. It's pretty exciting stuff. Cool, so I would like to, oops, that was 2 microphones. Let's try for just one. I would like to show you DCOS continuous integration in action. The sort of thing that you might queue up a framework which you've developed against Minimesos, and you might want to push it all the way through a continuous integration, continuous deployment workflow, and which is kind of something we talk about a lot in the industry. It's not something everyone does. Testing is becoming more, integrated testing is becoming more and more common, but like deployment all the way through, automated deployment, less common. So one of the nice things about DCOS and the way that containers are first class in DCOS, it means that all of that workflow is kind of present, is there for you, and you can use your resources, which the one big cluster you've got, you can use that for testing, for building, and you can also deploy to the same cluster and treat that as your production. So let's back out a little bit. You've heard something about DCOS already today from my colleague Alex, but just a really quick recap. It is the data center operating system. It's all free and open source and based on Apache Mesos as its kernel. And one thing I'd like to emphasize today when we're talking about continuous integration and continuous deployment is that it comes with a sort of app store kind of affair, the DCOS universe, such that as soon as it loads, installing Jenkins is as simple as hitting that green button. Sorry, there we go, photo opportunity. I had to have to persist it for a moment. Okay, so let me just tab over to the next slide. This is a sort of overview of how DCOS works. You can see As I said, the Mesos is the kernel, it's the basis of it. And then you're considered to have services and processes. In this case, talking about Jenkins, talking about Marathon, those are services. The applications which Marathon runs and the jobs which Jenkins runs, the build jobs, those are both processes. So in this context, Jenkins is a DCOS user space service, and each job is a process. The basic idea looks, it's very much like any other continuous integration workflow. You either poll or hook against your change management, build, and then the sort of missing piece of the puzzle is deployment to Marathon on top of the DCOS. Marathon is, I'll just tab over and show you quickly. Marathon is the service for long-running processes. So if you're running a web server on top of a Mesos cluster, this would be how you do it. Again, worth mentioning that Docker on top of Marathon is as simple as typing in the Docker Hub image name and hitting the create button. So, the last piece of this slide is a screenshot from Jenkins, the build plugin. Jenkins 2 is coming out soon, and that's going to have builds integrated into it rather than plugins. And it's kind of an ugly diagram, but you can see in this very simple demo I've got set up, we do a continuous deployment build, we run tests against it, and then we deploy. I'll go into a bit more detail on those in a second. Just quick show of hands. Has anyone got a laptop with them with Vagrant installed on it? Not too many people. Okay. Should you wish to possibly play along at home later, I do have some USB sticks with a Vagrant image plugged into the DCOS cluster on which I'm going to be demoing today. So if you want one, please do grab one from Alex. Go on, it's fun. Okay. There we go. So I'll step through the stages here. If anyone does want to try playing along, do feel free to call out questions or anything as they arise. But otherwise, let me show you what we've got to start with. The overview of our cluster is pretty simple. We have Jenkins and we have Marathon. I've covered quickly what Marathon did, but let me just show you that we've already got an application deployed on there. Really creatively, I've decided to call it Jenkins Deployed App. And the configuration is a little bit involved, but this is one of the important parts. It's the JProxy host. That's how the load balancer is able to point external traffic into Marathon to get at it. And you can see that it's also a Docker image. It is the CD demo app, and it has a particular build tag attached to it. Yeah, happily. Thank you. Right, that's a bit better. So you can see it has the image field in Docker. I'm not going to go through every field in this, don't worry. But I thought it was just worth pointing out that there's a tag attached to it. That means that we can build into Docker images on Jenkins, push that Docker image up to Docker Hub, deploy it onto Marathon at a particular tag, which is the continuous deployment part of the puzzle. Because I can simply push a new deployment to Marathon with a new tag, and Marathon's going to take care of downloading and running my Docker image for me. Who wants to see a really risky live demo of that in action? Who wants to join in on a really risky live action of that, demo of that in action? Okay, I will zoom in on this as well, don't worry. Okay. So we're going to change directory into, this is an already checked out GitHub project. It's pretty simple. It's a site, a static site, which is built using Jekyll. At the moment, it looks like this. This is the public address of my DCOS cluster. And you can see it has a pretty boring post titled February 25th. So let's make some changes to that. I'm going to switch over to using this microphone because I'm going to need both hands to type. Can you all still hear me? Marvelous. I'll have to sort of lean to one side. I think that's okay. It's like pair programming with someone who's enormous. So let's go into the site. Posts. If you're familiar with Jekyll, it's a pretty simple system. And you can see that there are 2 blog posts in there. Let's have a quick look at one. That's the original post. And you can see that the title and content of it tally with what I was just showing you on here. The date, the title, and the content. So let's add another one. Let's actually make a small edit to that one. I never quite know what to type on these things, so I'm just making it up as I go along. I hope that's all right with everyone. Okay. So you can see it sitting in my git diff. I'm going to commit. And that's pushed up to GitHub. It's good. So let's wander back over to Jenkins. I'm zoomed in about 1 million times here. Shortly, we should see those changes on GitHub. So that commit should be present here. Yep, I have demo yellow right there. And I'm actually, this is a forked project off a different project because I thought lots of people might want to push to it, and I didn't want to give everyone credentials into my works organization, so I'm just going to open a pull request. Okay, that's going into this branch here from master, and there's my update. There's conflicts and must be resolved. Oh no, nobody wants that. Let's resolve those conflicts. It wouldn't be a demo if something didn't go wrong. Okay. Let's remember our origin. Okay. And see if our pull request got any better. What do you know, it did. So I'm going to merge that pull request and tab over to Jenkins. So let's have, just while we're waiting for Jenkins to pick that change up, let's have a think about what we did. Okay, so hopefully we're zoomed in enough that build CD demos just appeared in the build queue. We can even see the pipeline in action again here. Sorry, I'm popping on this microphone. May I have the handheld one back? Yeah, is that right? Thanks, sorry, that's probably nicer for everybody. So we're back into our pipeline now. The change I pushed is in build CD demo, and it's working there. We have an average runtime of 17 seconds, and we can see the executors working as well. And on it goes. So what's actually happening here is that inside a Docker image, we're building another Docker image, and that's all happening somewhere in the cluster, which is also my production cluster, which is running Marathon. That's cool for a number of reasons. I don't know if I would imagine quite a few of you here run big build clusters. They're notoriously hungry for resources, and the problem is you have to plan for peak load, which is, going to be 11 o'clock on a Thursday when your developers have a Friday deadline. And they get really angry when there aren't enough resources to run their builds. But that means that you've got a sort of low state, midnight on a Tuesday, when no builds are running at all and you've got a big empty cluster whirring away. And the nice thing about sharing everything across one cluster, particularly as your company gets really big and you start having people based in different time zones, is that you can have one cluster, as many Jenkins masters as you like. You can have maybe 8 Jenkins agents and 100 Jenkins masters, all sharing the same agents, and running builds on the same things, just stacked, just sort of tessellated with everything else that's happening in your cluster. Okay, how's our demo going? We went through build, we went through test, we're looking at deploy.
Sector is offline.
Yeah, it came back online last time. I'm really hoping it does it again. Okay. Let's go have a look at the main page. Okay, pending. Pending. Come on, demo gods. Okay, we have something in progress. We have something in progress. So let's remind ourselves of the state of this. Last time we were looking at a single post on our continuous delivery demo, and we had a Marathon app with this state, a tag that starts OA314. Okay, did deployment finish? We're not sure. As soon as that green ball stops flashing, it will be finished. And we can start frantically refreshing our demo page. Okay, so something happened. We got a 503. Did our Marathon configuration change? We're expecting a fresh deployment to Marathon here as well. Okay. Okay, our deployment is actually still seems to be working, so you can step in and have a look at what the console did while we're waiting. Okay, so this is one part of the DCS specific work. The line I've highlighted there is a put to Marathon. It puts to the internal address of Marathon in the cluster, and it specifies Jenkins deployed app. And then there's it's inside the Marathon render.json is some data, which is the application configuration which we built. So, still no change, still no change. We should see a deployment come into Marathon shortly. And it looks like it didn't quite work, which is a bit of a shame. But that's what happens when you give live demos on stage. We'll leave this running for a little while and see if the Marathon instance picks up the Jenkins task. But hopefully that gives you some idea of what it looks like, at least in principle. And leave that running a moment. Let's come back to it a bit later. So we have various steps. This would have allowed you to stand up a Vagrant box from the USB stick. You can play along with those at your leisure. The slides will be available after the demo. And again, this we stepped through. We added a post, we committed it, we pushed it. And we can do this one just for fun in our Vagrant box. We can run the DCOS CLI and show the existing apps. If I can get the command right. Okay. So there are a few resources as well. There's the DCOS project on Twitter, Apache Mesos, and me, although I don't always tweet about containers, sometimes. The DCOS.io project has a lot of information on DCOS, including on the container-specific part of what I've been talking about today. And there's the DCOS open source project on GitHub. We also have a community Slack, which is really friendly and welcoming. And if you're just getting started out with DCOS, we'll always be happy to see you on there. One last little look at Jenkins. What do we think? Has it changed? There was a change 4 minutes ago. You know what I'm doing? I am refreshing the page. The demo worked. The demo worked. I was just on the wrong page after all. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that ended up going a little bit quicker than I thought, because I thought maybe there'd be a few people working along with me. But I think it's time to change slides. And any questions? Any questions about Mini-Mesos for Frank? Any questions about continuous integration for either of us? Sure, over there. Sorry, can you say that one again?
Thank you. Can you start a mini-OS? Can you start a DCOS over Mini-Mesos?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we're actually working on this.
Okay.
Mini
DCOS?
Yeah, sort of. No, there is a project called DCOS Docker. So there are some Docker images that have all the tools that DCOS has, and then it's a matter of getting them to run with Mini-Mesos. So it's a work in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Any more?
Quick question.
Sure.
I'm David. Okay. A quick question. I fully understand how to put Kubernetes on OpenStack. How to put Mesos or Mesosphere on OpenStack? It's borderline.
So OpenStack and DCOS, I'm not sure there are circumstances in which you'd deploy DCOS on top of OpenStack. DCOS is built on Mesos, and Mesos runs on anything. It will run on virtualization, it will run on Docker, it will run on Vagrant, it will run on bare metal, and it will run on like a whole bunch of different Linuxes. So I can't imagine an advantage to deploying DCOS on top of OpenStack.
Thank you.
But technically, I think it would be possible. Worth saying. Anyone else? Okay, we have one more.
It's obviously it's possible to run DCOS and Mesos on OpenStack. We don't have any scripts in place that will help you to do that, so we have to do it yourself. And I think what Phil was saying, that again, it's adding another layer of indirection, and it's the question of do you want it? So it's okay for testing, but in the long run, at least how I see it, we should avoid another layers of indirection, as we already have too many of them. So that's why we're not providing scripts. We don't want to encourage people to add more layers of indirection.
Thank you, Alex. Oh, we have another one.
Yes, excuse me. Just Hi. About the App Store, the DCOS App Store. Can you build custom apps, or is it an App Store with official releases?
Yeah, this is what we were working with today, is the 1.7 stable release. So that's a couple of weeks old now. 1.8 is due out for early access shortly.
Yes, so the apps inside the App Store, you cannot build custom apps inside it?
Yeah, absolutely you can. Okay. The entire, I called it the App Store, it's actually called the Universe, but App Store is kind of an accessible way to describe what it is. The Universe is nothing more than a GitHub repository. You can build your own universes, you can contribute into our universe with a pull request, and you can also disable our universe in your DCOS cluster and just serve your own, which allows you to do cool stuff like vetting every package which is accessible in your own cluster. Okay. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Cool.
Sure. Thank you.
I can actually bring that up on GitHub if there's interest. I just guessed the repository name, so this is almost certainly wrong. And the network's really slow. And it's also wrong. I think it might be this. It is, cool. Okay, so let me zoom that in for you. Here, for example, you can see we have ArangoDB. ArangoDB has had 3 separate versions, 0 indexed because we're good engineers, And the actual package is pretty simple. It's a bunch of JSON files. This is all really well documented on, how to do this is really well documented on dcos.io. And that's how you get the magic one-click installs. Anybody else? Sure.
One question concerning the Jenkins instance on DCOS. Do you use the existing Jenkins Mesos plugin, or do you have redeveloped your own plugin?
Microphone swap. We use Jenkins with the Mesos Jenkins plugin. That's all available, and again, that's all of that is open source. And we expect we'll be able to pick the Mesos Jenkins plugin up with Jenkins 2, which is coming soon and should be pretty cool. It should be a much nicer user experience. Jenkins can be a little idiosyncratic to configure at the moment. Okay. Well, if that's it, and unless Frank has anything more to say.
Merci Franck, merci Philippe.